Hey folks, it's Scott at the XFed Homestead. Well, today I'm going to head over to the farm and help Peter collect some sap, and we're going to bottle some delicious maple syrup. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes in making maple syrup, and a lot of people don't understand all the work that's involved. So I'm going to try to show you something today that maybe you haven't seen before. I hope you find it entertaining and educational. So let's get to work. To prepare the collection tank, we first put on a platform to raise the height of the collection tank. We take off the tailgate to make room for other equipment we have to add to the collection truck, including a large white industrial collection tank. The trailer hitch receiver takes on a cargo carrier that holds the lower collection tank, the one with the stylized maple leaf on it. We strap down the collection tank to prevent it from moving around in transit. Maple sap poured into the lower tank is pumped up to the large upper tank using some small pumps that are wired into the truck's electrical system. Depending on the property where we collect the maple sap, the truck is positioned as close to the maple trees and the collection buckets as possible. Then it's just a matter of getting out of the truck and seeing what Mother Nature has made for us today. The sap from each tree is collected in a single bucket and then dumped into the lower collection tank in the back of the truck. Then we drive to other properties around town and meet contributors to our sap gathering ventures. Our good friend John collects multiple 35-gallon barrels of sap on most days. That sap gets poured through a pre-screen in order to filter out any large debris before being pumped into the upper collection tank. John is discussing how a local woman who saw the buckets on his trees in his yard inquired as to whether he was collecting maple syrup. He had to advise her that you needed to boil down the tree sap to actually make maple syrup. She apparently was not familiar with the process, not unlike a lot of people. This gave us a bit of a chuckle. After we're done collecting the sap, we head back to the sugar shack and get ready to boil the sap to create maple syrup. We typically empty the sap into this bucket here with a filter on top that filters out any debris, and then use these small pumps to pump it up into the holding tank that's strapped down to the back of the truck. Once we get back to the sugar shack, it comes out here and gets pumped into this old milk pump and pumped up into the holding tank. And you can see the holding tank's at an angle, and that gets gravity fed through this little pipe right there into the sugar shack and then into the evaporator. Once the sap is flowing into the evaporator, we can light up the fire in the evaporator to boil the fresh sap. Everyone takes their turn stoking the fire. Here, Josh makes sure that we have a full boil going. When we need more wood for the fire, Peter goes and gets another load from the field. This wood was previously cut and prepared by Dick in the fall during the prior year. Dick has a particular methodology for splitting wood and has been doing this job for over the last dozen years. Dick is from the great state of Maine and has a wonderful way of putting things.
I'm a little bit like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. So, what else is new this year? That boiler was there last year, right?
Yeah, it smells so good in here.
There is a great deal of camaraderie in the sugar shack. Food is often cooked and eaten as we talk through how to solve all of the world's problems. Once the sap is boiled to about 207 degrees Fahrenheit, the syrup is ready to be finished. The syrup is then drained from the evaporator pan and filtered through a specially designed wool filter in the stainless steel milk pail. The syrup is then transferred into the finishing tank for a second boil. It's during this step that the syrup is constantly checked to ensure that it has a natural sugar content of 66%. This is done using a hydrometer that is specially calibrated for that purpose. You can see here that Andrew, our resident biochemist, uses the hydrometer to ensure that the syrup is ready for bottling. Some taste testing is also done at this stage. Once the syrup is at the perfect sugar content, we again filter it through another woolen filter and put it in traditional maple syrup bottles. The bottles are momentarily laid down to check for any leaking and ensure that they are sealed properly. Bottling is a painstaking production procedure. However, you soon develop a rhythm and carry on until the last drop of syrup is bottled. Well, that's pretty good right there. That's over 4.5 cases of fresh New England maple syrup. And we had one that's just a partial, so that has to go home with me. Well, we'll add today's up to the window, and there's a slight variation in color, if you can see. It's getting a little darker as the season goes on, but this is the third bottling we've done this season, and it looks like the season's coming to a quick end. Well, we had a good day at the Sugar Shack and we bottled up a lot of maple syrup. I hope you learned something interesting today, and I hope that for many of you this video was educational. This is Scott at the XFed Homestead. We'll see you next time.